He's back.
God, do we still do this podcast?
Yeah. Does Miracast still work? Apparently not.
So nothing has changed. Yeah, geez, I guess I've been trying to bring up my Surface. I'm sorry. Let's start properly. I apologize.
Welcome back, everybody, to First Ring Daily. Paul is back in the studio. He's done delivering those hot and fresh pizzas and driving for Uber when he's not on a podcast. But today's show is brought to you by Cloudberry. Check them out at cloudberrylab.com/FRD because they do backup and recovery pretty much better than anybody else, and they let you put it wherever you want. Amazon, Azure, Google, all that stuff. Even Backblaze for those who are curious. But there are some people that are curious, Paul. What's going on with your backup solution? And Miracast is not working again.
Unlike Cloudberry Labs, Microsoft does not do backup and recovery correctly, because when I try to bring up my Surface laptop, it's this excellent error dialog. It's grammatically kind of jammed together and incorrect, but it says error, your organization, and error and your are together as one word. Use device guard to block this app. Contact your support person for more info. Now, that app is Microsoft Edge. So, and it ran automatically on first boot. This is now the third time in a row that this has happened. And yikes. So
there you. That's.
But the problem is when this thing comes up, I will just verify this, although I already know this is true. Yeah, it comes up into Windows 10S version 1703. Not quite a year old, but getting there. And I'll do it again. I'm a sucker, but when you install the updates, you install a bunch of updates for 1703, and some of them work. And then eventually you get to one that refuses to install, and the error message that comes up is one of those 0x008 blah 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 whatever numbers. You look that up on the internet, and Microsoft's advice when you get that error is to run a little update utility that will fix Windows Updated. It's a Win32 app that doesn't run on Windows 10s. I don't know. It's beautiful. So the other thing, just a pet peeve with Windows, I assume a lot of the people listen to this kind of Windows guys. I always find it just vaguely distressing every time you install Windows for the first time and you run Windows Update, and in red text, it says, your device is at risk because it's out of date and missing important security and quality updates. Let's get back on track so Windows can run more securely. Select this button to get going. Here's an idea, gang. There are two phases in Windows updates where you actively tell me that you're searching for and then installing updates. Why don't you just make it up to date? And then this doesn't. Yeah. Why would this be the first message I see? This thing sucks. This is really irritating. Anyway,
yeah.
On with
some two fun adventures of the new PC build, which I am woefully behind. I've taken pictures and recorded a video of the new machine, but I've yet to actually do the write-up, mostly because I've been distracted by other things. But two quick notes. Paul, do you remember how I had a shutdown issue and I couldn't get the machine to shut down?
That's right. Yep. Was it Crosswires? Tell me it was Crosswires.
You were wrong. It was not Crosswires. I actually... There's two things, and I don't know which one it was. And actually, I forget the user's name. I need to call him out because he actually helped me solve this. He posted a comment. He said, check two things, and I turned them both off, and it fixed the issue. So I don't know which one it was. One was wake on LAN, which is obviously allowing you to wake your computer over the network. I turned that off, but what I think might have done it was I turned off fast boot.
Ooh, you should experiment with that. That's interesting. I would toggle that again and just see what happens.
Yeah, but after I switched those two, the computer now shuts down. I've had it 3 successful attempts in a row, and yeah.
I would assume with that computer that even a slow boot is pretty damn fast.
I mean, you press the computer or you press the on button. There's actually a time delay to allow you enough time to hit the BIOS button. Hit delete F2.
Yep.
And then it sits there and you see the little timer go down. As soon as it stops, then it's prompting Windows. So I'm not too concerned about having fast boot on.
Actually, fast boot, part of what it does might be to disable that to make it harder to hit the BIOS.
Yeah. So, and then the other fun issue I had yesterday, which I still don't know what happened. I was having a lot of graphical issues where it was
Mhm.
definitely Windows. Like the start menu was quite literally in the middle of the screen. One monitor just turned off randomly, and then I couldn't get the actual like clicking the start button would not open the start menu. I restarted like 5 times and nothing. And so what I did was I got out my USB drive that has my kind of boot recovery stuff on it. Just whatever. I was
Mhm.
going to nuke the drive and start all over. And as soon as I plugged that key in, everything started working again. Like I plugged it
Wow.
in, and the computer was like, "Oh shit, he's actually going to do it." And then just it's been working fine now for 24 hours.
It's like when you have a pet or a child, sometimes the answer is just threatening them. Yeah,
Yeah.
the Darth Vader model works. That's all I'm saying.
Yep. A couple things on the less fun side of life. Microsoft had some layoffs yesterday. I think I got this as a scoop. I didn't see anybody beat me to the punch. Wasn't massive amounts of layoffs, but it definitely impacted the Seattle area. And from what I'm hearing, it sounds like the Windows and Devices group got hit harder than other orgs, but I know for a fact that other orgs besides WDG were impacted as well. So
Yep.
they weren't in the thousands, think in the hundreds, but it was large enough that there was a lot of noise going around. And after poking around a little bit, Microsoft finally just confirms that yes, we did actually lay some people off yesterday. So,
Interesting.
yep. And speaking of things, Paul, that probably aren't going to interest too many people listening to this, this is not the top of an old Mac Pro. This is actually the new yarn ball from Amazon from Apple called the HomePod. They have, after a somewhat of a lengthy delay, I guess, whatever, they didn't hit their end of the year deadline. It is now going on sale February 9th for $349. They will start taking pre-orders this Friday. But when it launches, it will not have multi-room audio or stereo features, but they will be coming later with a free update, Paul. Free update.
Oh, Apple, welcome to the mess that is the rest of the world. Oh my God. So here's what I'm not going to do. Two things. I'm not going to make fun of Apple for coming in at this price point. There are
Mhm.
$349 plus speakers from Sonos and Google.
Yep.
Honestly, compared to those, it's probably not that bad. And let's face it, and you know this, the audio quality of this thing is probably going to be incredible. It's probably going to be pretty excellent.
I'm going to be very
Um,
curious, to be honest. Yeah.
yeah. The other thing I'm not going to be dismissive of, and I had this conversation on Twitter maybe last week or whenever with some other people, but this notion that Apple's late to the game and Siri sucks compared to other assistants is all true, but I don't think it matters. I think the thing that people need to understand about Apple is that they exist in a different world in many ways,
Mhm.
and that their audience base is very compliant and happy with them. And obviously, we've seen some crack showing there, but I still think they have enough of an audience that they could just make this thing fly and be profitable and make sense. And the fact that people will prove that it's not as good. It obviously doesn't have those features you just mentioned are kind of incredible. Stereo support or multi-room support is amazing, but it will happen. And I'm not saying it's going to be successful, but being immediately dismissive of any Apple product has been historically proven to be a mistake.
Yep. Yep. Um, I will tell you. So you were talking about Siri being garbage and Cortana being garbage and
Mm-hmm.
Google Assistant being garbage and the other one from Amazon. I don't want to say it because it'll activate my thing. I actually tried an experiment. Was this like Sunday? I took every single one of them, every single one, either on my
Mm-hmm.
phone or whatever digital version you want to call it. And what I was trying to
Mm-hmm.
do, what I want is every day at 2:30 p.m., Monday through Friday, I want a traffic report from my house to my daughter's school because I leave at
Mm-hmm.
2:45 and I need to know if the
Yep.
highways are clear, if I'm taking the back roads. And I asked every single one of them the exact same question. I said, send me a traffic report from uh, a name. I said
Mm-hmm.
my house, my town I live in. I don't want to say it out loud
Yep.
to my daughter's school, and all of them like just shit the bed. They had no idea what to do. It was great. It was really, I was just so
Yeah.
happy with everything.
Actually, I think the most amusing part of this story would be to collect their responses.
Yeah.
The way in which we betray that we have no idea what we're doing.
Yeah. I mean, it's great if I want to know the weather, but if I need something
Yeah.
that's actually useful, like what is the traffic for when I go to one place. And the thing with Siri, by the way, is my phone at one point knew that I left every day at 2:45 and went to my daughter's school, and it gave me traffic for like a week, and then it just
Yep.
stopped. and I don't know how to get it back because there's no like fine grained controls.
All
Um,
right. I don't
it's
remember if I
yeah.
wrote this up, but I had this notion about notifications and how terrible they were. And you know, as everyone does, you set up a new phone, and
Hmm.
I guess unless you go from a backup of a previous phone, the thing that you deal with for the next 2 to 3 weeks is turning off all the stupid notifications you get. You know, so
Yep.
I'm trying to think of some example, like well, Facebook's not a good example, but you know, like a newspaper app. You know, you're sitting there doing nothing, your phone chimes, you look down, and it's like a some news story that it decided was important enough to notify you about, and you're like, ugh, like, and then you use that moment to kind of turn off the notification. I sort of feel like we're going to get there with these assistants too, because they're starting to get a little more proactive, and the line between useful and annoying is kind of a
Hmm.
thin one. And of course, I think it depends on you, who you are and what your needs are and all that kind of stuff too. But I'm starting to think like we got to figure out some kind of a, it's almost, I don't know what to call it, like just like an agree, like a digital agreement, like don't bother me. Like, you know,
Yeah.
if you're just noise, you're not being helpful, you know.
Hmm.
Anyway,
Yeah.
I think we're heading down that little rabbit hole pretty soon with these things.
No, I can already see it when I'm like 67 years old sitting in a retirement home, and I'm going to
Hmm.
hear a ding and I'm going to think it's going to be a notification, and you're going to see me dive under
Yep.
the couch. Like it's,
You're gonna like start jerking a little bit. Like I
yeah.
had a like I was at my friend's house over the weekend, and he's got some notification on his phone which sounds like a bird chirping, which I'm sure he finds delightful. It was like the icy hand of death on my back every time I heard it. It was like, what are you doing? Like, why did you choose that sound? Why did I buy a dog? One might ask. I I didn't buy the dog. You don't ever spend money on a dog. You just, these are free things. And then they just keep on giving from then on out. Um, Kelly, my
Yeah.
daughter is having midterms this week, so she's been home all morning, and now she's leaving.
Mm,
And I'm sure I pointed this out, but I find it funny in a way that the worst thing that can happen to a dog is if anybody leaves.
yep.
Doesn't like it. Anyway, I've completely lost track. Yes, I'm sorry that you were talking about being in a nursing home. Yeah, I mean, I think we're going to be dealing with this for decades to come, and it's going to trigger like a PTSD kind of a thing in all of us. Like you'll hear like 20 years from now, you'll hear some little chime that used to be a sound on your phone, and you'll literally have like a convulsion. You
Hmm.
know, it's like a Chinese water torture kind of thing.
It really is. Speaking of not water torture, uh,
Hmm.
it wasn't not my best transition, if I'm honest. But Microsoft
I
announced
liked
that
it.
Xbox Game Pass. This is actually really interesting. Will
Yeah.
soon have exclusives like Halo and Sea of Thieves on the day they launch.
Yeah, and to be clear, because Mahedi was writing this up, and he just asked this question, and it's a good one, which is, are they talking about new games only, or is this like all games? You know, and if you look at the announcement, it's new games, and so in other words, all
Mhm.
new games, and these are big franchise games in some cases, like Halo, Forza, Gears of War, but also like upcoming great games that people are looking forward to, like Crackdown 3, Sea of Thieves, State of Decay 2. The day
Mm,
that these things come out, they're going to be available on Xbox Game Pass across platform, which
yeah.
I believe all Microsoft Studio games are, right? Well, maybe
Hmm.
not the Halo games. I guess we'll have to wait and see on that one. But most of them to date have been, um, meaning that you can get them on Windows 10 and or Xbox One. This is kind of incredible. I feel very strongly that Xbox Game Pass is one of the greatest strengths of the Xbox platform. That for
Hmm.
it's like $10 a month, dude. Like think about
Yeah.
the various subscription services that we pay for, music, videos, whatever. And this is such a unique deal. Like someone like me who is like completely stuck on Call of Duty like an idiot, and I'm actually really trying to break out of that. Um, for like $10 a month, you get access to, I don't know what the exact number is. It started with over 100. It's probably up near 130 plus, whatever it is, games. And not just like games. It's not like Netflix where most of the shows are these crappy B movie straight to video things you've never heard of. Like these
Hmm.
are legit incredible titles in many cases. And this really kind of puts that notion over the top. Well, it's just it's a no brainer. Like I think for most people with an Xbox, it just even from a financial standpoint, it's like
Yeah.
for the price of 2 games, you could have in a year, you have access to hundreds of games, great games. I mean,
Hmm.
everybody needs to do this. If you're a serious gamer, or a serious Xbox gamer in particular, but also want that capability to bring a bunch of them forward to the to Windows too. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah. If they would bring Call of Duty into this fold,
Mm-hmm.
because the first thing I'm actually going to correct you, Paul. You said this is the price of
Okay.
2 games. I'd actually argue that it's probably less than the price of 2 games because it's 120 bucks for the
Yeah.
year. But a lot of
Right.
games have download content or DLC that you
That's
have to
right.
pay for, and if this includes that, then you're
Mm-hmm.
effectively ahead. So you're almost like a game and a half. I completely
Oh, you're
agree that
ahead
it's
no
a
matter how
great
you look
value.
at it. I mean, think
Yeah,
about it this way. Like, I don't know, people have different schedules and they play different kinds of games. They like different things, whatever
mm,
it is. But one of the things that's really hard in video games is the notion of like trying something that you don't know what it is. And so spending
right.
$60, which is the typical price for a triple A game, is a lot to ask when you don't know if it's going to be any good. And there's notions around, can I resell it later if I don't like it, or how does that work? And um, I there are probably more people who like to go in and out of different kinds of games and like the variety, and so that's obvious. It's there. Um, but for the people who are like kind of nervous about taking a chance on the game, because we've all seen reviews for games that were great, and then you get it and you're like, what is this thing? It's awful. And then you're just kind of stuck. You just spent $60. So like you're saying, like Call of Duty for me is a $120 a year effort. It's not $60 because I do buy the season pass stuff.
Hmm.
Um, this is an incredible value. You could play through one complete game every month if you wanted to. You could play through 5 games every month. Whatever your schedule is or whatever you can or want to do.
Yep.
It's amazing. I think Xbox Game Pass is just no brainer. It's amazing.
Yeah. I tend to agree. I really, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Like if you want to be buying a whole
Yeah.
bunch of games, the interesting thing too is that if you have a bunch of kids at your house, like if you have 2 kids and they play different styles of games, again, you
That's
only
right.
probably have to pay for one subscription for that account, and then they can download
Yep.
whatever they want as long as it's in there. So,
Yeah. Put it on your home Xbox on your account and if you have
mhm.
multiple Xboxes, you lucky bastard, you can let your kids play on their Xboxes. More likely, they would be playing on the same console, in which case that also works. And
Yep,
yeah, it's it's amazing.
it's a good deal. You got anything else today, former Uber driver, Paul?
um, no, I've completed but not yet posted a thing about the end of the platform wars, which will be a premium post. I will this week review. I might have 2 laptop reviews this week. I've got the HP, Spectre, the 13-inch version, the one that's ceramic white. I
Hmm.
took that with me on my trip. I think all my tests are done, battery life and performance, and I think I mentioned last week I want to actually publish a 6-month-old review of the Surface Pro. I ran into a snag with that, so I will do that soon. It's still going to happen, but I've had to resuscitate what I already wrote, and I'm having trouble finding a complete version, so I might have to rewrite part of it. But um, yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at, I guess, with stuff.
Well, we appreciate your timeliness, as always.
Yep. 6 months later. That'll be the name of my next site, 6monthslater.com. Yesterday's reviews today.
Yeah, yep. Well, it's working out
What about you,
pretty
Brad?
well for.
What are you doing?
I was gonna say, well, that motto works out pretty well for John Oliver on last week tonight. So maybe there is
That's right.
something
Hmm.
to that. But thank you for asking one, because you don't always do that, and it hurts. But no, actually, for whatever reason, conveniently, my kid is coming home in about 40 minutes because
Awesome.
why wouldn't they have teacher in service afternoon on a Tuesday, late January? But here
Yep.
we are. So that's really about all I got.
Yep.
What was that?
I listen. You're touching on a topic that is a very sore spot for me. I just mentioned that my daughter.
Mhm.
Uh, what time is it? It's 11:20 in the morning. Is leaving for school. As I said to her last night when she went to bed, I said, sleep fast. And she's like, what are you talking about? I said, you only have 14 hours until you have to go to school. I mean, what is this? But yeah.
Yeah. On that high note, we will end it here today, folks. Today's show is brought to you by Cloudberry. Check them out at cloudberrylab.com/FRD. Learn about their backup and recovery, ransomware and encryption, and all that good stuff for making sure your files are up to date, backed up, and recoverable. That does it for today, and we'll catch you right back here tomorrow.